Now let's go live to Moscow with Nick Holdsworth. Nick, first of all, what more has the Kremlin had to say?
Vladimir Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, was characteristically forthright today. He said that it was completely irresponsible and wrong of the Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki to blame Russia. Russia isn't to blame. He said rather the European Union was to blame because they're the ones who have been encouraging people from conflict zones to migrate to Europe. They've advertised European values. The Germans have taken a lot of migrants in the past. So effectively, the Europeans are being hoisted by their own petard, Dmitry Peskov suggested. Meanwhile, the Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, has also said that the West is to blame for this. They've interfered in wars in the Middle East and elsewhere in the world. This has provoked the migration crisis. Lavrov has even suggested that if Europe can pay the Turks to keep migrants on their territory rather than letting them come into the European Union, why can't they extend some kind of financial assistance to the Belarusians? Of course, we also have today the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, calling Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, and asking him to intervene. Now, Putin has said that he's willing to set up some kind of dialogue, use Russia's influence on Belarus to set up a dialogue between Minsk and European governments, and he says he will continue talking. So there's a mixture of rhetoric here. There's quite fierce rhetoric from the spokesman and slightly less fierce rhetoric, a bit more friendly from Putin himself in that call with Merkel, with whom, of course, he gets on well. They both speak German, obviously. Putin has long spoken fluent German. So that's, there's kind of a balanced view at the moment from Moscow, but Moscow is insisting that it is not responsible for this crisis on the border of Belarus and Poland.
Nick, how might this situation actually play out for Russia? Could it end up working in the Kremlin's favor?
There are other factors in play here which may explain Vladimir Putin's slightly less strident reaction when he spoke with Angela Merkel. The Russians are very keen to get Nord Stream, a Russian gas pipeline across the Baltic, direct into Germany. They're very keen to get that approved, up and running. The $11 billion project is something they've long been very keen on. Now, this doesn't play well with the Ukrainians because it would bypass Ukraine, costing them billions of dollars every year in transit fees. And indeed, just on Monday in the US, half a dozen Republican senators got together to propose sanctions on that pipeline, which has already been agreed with President Joe Biden and Angela Merkel. It's been agreed that that should go ahead. So that's playing in the background. The Russians see this possibly, they haven't said this, but possibly they see this as an opportunity to use some leverage there. And of course, for the Poles, this is also something quite useful. The Poles are in big trouble with the Europeans, with the EU rather. Just 2 weeks ago, the European Court of Justice, the EU's highest court, imposed a sanction of €1 million every day on the Polish government for unconstitutional arrangements to discipline judges. There's been a big attack on independent judges in Poland. So the Polish Prime Minister, calling this the worst crisis on Europe's borders in 30 years, and it's 30 years since Poland was under communist rule and effectively rule from Moscow, calling it the biggest crisis in 30 years is an opportunity for the Poles to play the good guy and perhaps also try to balance that pressure from Europe over their attack on independent judges.
Nick, thank you for that. Nick Holdsworth there reporting for us from Moscow.